What's up guys, this is Piotr, Action Air Central. Welcome to the video. This one is very exciting because we'll be talking about guns, and as we all know, that's the most exciting topic there is. Joking. But it is the number one question probably that gets asked. It's like when you get interested in Action Air, what gun should I get, what I should be investing into. So in this video I will tell you what you should be considering when buying your first Action Air gun, and why there is no such thing as a best gun for Action Air. So if you want to find out more, stick around. Okay, so just to dispel all clickbait and all myths, there's no such thing as a best gun for Action Air. What you need to realize is that a gun is a tool, and since people are different, they have different tastes, different hand sizes. There is no such thing as a one perfect gun for everybody, because you might have small hands like myself, and you might be fine with a Glock like this, but a double stack high kappa might be too big for you, and it will never work for you even though it's a really good gun. So there is no such thing as a best gun. You need to find the one that is right for you, and what I will do now is try to give you the things that you should be looking out for when you're choosing a gun for Action Air. So I have this whole list here because this topic is pretty large, so I don't want to really forget about anything. And just to start off with two really easy points. If you're not sure about Action Air, if you're not sure if you want to get into this sport, you should probably not start with buying a new gun. What you should do is try one for yourself, maybe borrow one from a friend, go to a store, go to your local club, use whatever you have from Airsoft perhaps, and just run with that until you actually find out what you are looking for in a gun, what you need specifically, what types of features you want in it. It's probably not a good idea to over-invest if you're not sure about it. However, if you are sure, then there are a couple of things to consider. But before we get into more of those, another easy topic for discussion that I just wanted to get out of the way is that if you are looking into Action Air as a way to practice real steel, or maybe like a stepping stone for real steel, then the choice it has been made for you, or rather you probably have made that choice earlier when you chose your real steel gun, because what you'll be looking for obviously is just the best possible replica of that real steel gun that you are looking into practicing, and that you want to have the most similar experience with, because it's the gun you should like it. You should like the way it looks. I mean, it's like people like nice things, right? It's maybe it's a tool, but it's always better to have a nice looking tool that you enjoy than to have a random tool that that you don't enjoy. In the long run, having a gun that you just like aesthetically will make you want to practice more. You will be more invested in it. You will want to really customize it to what you're looking for. So I think that it's quite often omitted, but you should really try to find a gun that you really like the way it looks. And the second very important thing is how it feels in the hand. Like I mentioned earlier, what you're looking for really in a pistol is that it is the most accurate and consistent it can be. And this cannot happen if your grip is bad on the pistol. Like, grip is probably one of the most important things that you need to practice, and you need to have good grip on the pistol. And if it's too big for your hand, or if it's too small for your hand, it's never going to work. So you really need to have a good feel of the pistol. That's why I think it's super important that you try them out before you click that, you know, buy now button on a website and get a random gun that might look good, but in the end will not fit your hand. So that's quite important. So what I would recommend is, if you're like totally fresh and you don't really even know what you want yet, that you just visit an Airsoft website, go into the GBB pistol section and just browse and pick like 3 pistols that you like the way they look like, and just keep them on the side. For now, just do that, and then, you know, come back to the video and listen more. So once you have them picked, you need to be aware that in Action Air, eventually you will get into competitions. And competitions in Action Air take place in different classes. The 4 main classes that you will encounter are Classic, Production, Standard, and Open. The difference between them is the pistols that are used. So I'll just go over each of them, and just keep in mind the type of differences that you will encounter, and then you'll have to kind of project them onto the pistols that you've chosen, and that will tell you which class in competition you'll be able to attend, for the lack of a better word. So Classic is the division where you have a pistol that is based on the Colt pistol, the Classic Colt chassis. So the thing here is that it can have no modifications. It can be any pistol that is based on the Colt pistol. It uses a single stack magazine that can have a maximum of 10 rounds. So there's no mods allowed, and yeah, so you're basically, if you want to shoot Classic, you need to get a Colt, a 1911, and you're limited to 10 BBs in a mag, which conversely means that you will need to use more mags in a competition as opposed to other classes. The next one is Production, and this one is very wide. You can have any pistol that is from a specific list. This list can be found on the IPSC website, and it has really a large amount of different pistol models that have to be run kind of stock. So you can get an Airsoft replica that has to also be stock, and what you're limited here is no mods. Quite a lot of guns are excluded. You can have a max inner barrel length of 127 millimeters, and there's a 15 BBs limit to the magazine. Some notable exclusions include Glock 18 or Glock 34, for example, but you have all sorts of Glocks, Colts, Berettas, CZs, many different types. The next class is Standard, and this one is probably one of the more popular ones, because here you can have any type of pistol basically. You can have modifications to it, but the pistol with the modifications has to fit a box of a certain size, and you can look that up. I'm not going to bring it up here, but there is a box you have to put the gun in. It has to fit. If it doesn't fit, it's not going to be allowed. The round limit is 18 in a mag, and like I said, you can have all sorts of mods. And these 3 classes, the thing that they have in common is that you have to use iron sights, whereas in the last class, which is Open, you can have electronic optics, so any kind of red dots, laser pointers, whatever you want. The pistol frame does not have any limits to them. There is a limit to the magazine length and the magazine capacity, so you can only run with 28 BBs, but that's plenty, trust me. So that's what the Open class is about. So now go back to the 3 models that you picked earlier, and having in mind what I just said, try to figure out if they fit into any of these categories, because eventually you'll probably be locked into one of them. since you can only take at one competition you can only take part in one equipment class or pistol class that will actually give you score. So the next thing, now we're getting into the real meat of it. Like, how do okay, I know the classes, I think I might want to start in one of them, then what pistol should I be getting, right? So I guess the main choice that you have to make is, do you want to run a pistol that you will use iron sights or fiber optics? It doesn't matter, it's the same thing, or like technically for what I'm saying. Or do you want to run with like a red dot? Because then your choice is, you're already narrowing down a lot. Since if you want to use a red dot, then you will only be able to run in the open category, which then opens up a whole can of worms. We'll get into that. So that's probably the main choice. The second one would be, what is your attitude towards those competitions? Do you want to like be highly competitive, or do you just want to keep it less intense, I can say? What I mean by that is that the four classes that I said, they're populated very differently. Like there is a reason why the standard and open classes are the most popular, and why classic and production are less popular. And as you can imagine, if there is a competition, there will be a much higher, there will be many more competitors in the more popular categories or classes, so standard and open, than in production or classic. And even to the point where there might sometimes be situations where, or actually there will often be situations where there will be no one playing in classic or production. However, those guys, if there is one or two of them and they can't open a class, they can always fit into standard, because standard is kind of like the bigger circle that fits both production and classic options. It doesn't go the other way, but that way it does. So often those three will be merged and they will just run as a standard, because that's more like the most common denominator for those three categories. In open, you are then competing against people with race guns that potentially cost thousands because they're just so kitted out. So you have to take that into account. Like, okay, I like red dots, but do you actually have the budget to be able to build a race gun that will compete? Of course, skill is immensely important, and you will very often, if you are skilled enough, destroy people with better guns, because that's not all there is to it. But I'm just saying that you have to think about what kind of group you will find yourself in during competitions, and if this is what you're looking for. Because like, it's totally fine if you're just in it for the practice and you're not really that competitive, then yeah, maybe just go with a classic Colt, run in the classic division, and have less competition. It's up to you. Just think about it. You can always use that Colt and run with the other guys in standard, and you'll be just fine. Maybe a little handicap cap because of the lower round count, but you'll still be fine. The next item would be reliability and consistency, because I think that's very, very important. You want to be looking out for a pistol that is reliable and consistent. This is pretty much the key to success during competitions, because the last thing that you want to do, the last thing that you want to happen to you is, for example, like your loading nozzle breaks, or your magazine jams and you're not getting BBs. Anything, and it can really be the little things that really destroy your stage. And remember, you're racing against split seconds here, so anything that hinders you is something that you want to remove from your kit. So you want to be looking for parts that are reliable and consistent and durable and will not break on you. In Airsoft, it's probably one of the things that you'll hear most is that something happened to my gun during a stage. And yeah, you want to just minimize that risk, So finding a pistol that's, like I said, consistent, reliable, and durable is your definite top priority. Next item is mods or modifications. You should think about if you are going to do them to your pistol. Are you going to mod it? Are you going to exchange parts? Do you know how to do this? Do you have someone who can help you with it? Because if you just want to run stock, just get the best stock pistol you can and forget about mods, and you'll be fine. It's an approach. But if you want a pistol that you will be able to add a magwell, that you will be able to exchange the barrels, add different sights, or just basically do whatever with the slide and internals, and you have to take that into account. So do you want to mod it or do you want to run it stock? The next one is visual mods. Like for example, with high kappas, there is no limit to what you can do. There are so many out there. Do you want to pimp your gun or not? It's something to consider. I mean, it's a hobby after in the end. So there will come a point where you will want to mod your gun, and it will not only be for performance but also for visuals. So think about it. You might not want it, but trust me, you'll probably will. Now the next one is spare parts and their availability. So with airsoft pistols, a lot of things break, and it's not like on an airsoft field where you run with it, you crawl, you jump, and you will knock it around, drop it in the mud. Nothing like that. However, you might bump into people, you might... the external damage is not really the factor here. What I mean is the internals, because you will break things like all kinds of springs. The nozzle is quite notorious for cracking, and you have to exchange it. So when you are choosing a pistol, you should also think about what is the spare parts availability in your area. Are you going to be able to order it online? Will you be able to make group purchases with your friends, perhaps? Because let's be honest, most of the orders are coming from Hong Kong, so yeah, it's not great to order it by yourself. So think about the spare parts. It's actually quite important. The next one is accessories availability. For each pistol, you will probably need a different holster. You might probably use different mag pouches. So if you chose a pistol that's not really very popular, you might have trouble getting the accessories for it, and accessories are pretty important. So keep that in mind and see what type of pouches, belts, holsters you're able to get for it, and if they're going to fit, and if it's not going to cost you a fortune. Because obviously you can always get custom stuff, but that stuff is pretty expensive. So it's pretty important to figure that into the whole equation. The next thing is obviously the budget. I mean, as with most hobbies, this one can be for all sorts of budgets. You can have a very cheapo Glock, like I started with this one. It used to be my airsoft pistol. I ran with it, it was fine. And when I started Action Air, I started with that. I added a few things here and there, but that was my budget choice for the beginning. I then moved to this one. So that's a gold match that doesn't have much gold match in it anymore. Pretty much the whole upper has been replaced with some other stuff, except for the hammer, which is on its way. So the budget is quite important, and you need to know, you need to position yourself and look at the prices of all these things that I mentioned. So pistol, a few mags, like Tokyo Marui mags can be pretty expensive. Can you afford them? Will you be able to then later get the belt, the pouches, the holster, all that stuff? Like the bag that you will carry all of this around to the range. This is something that like the budget is very important. It's nice to set it and then adjust everything accordingly. What is often also forgotten about is resale value. So it's also something to consider. Should I go all in from the start, or should I maybe go with budget, like really low budget option, and then move on to something more expensive, better? Because like resale value exists, and I will probably never be able to sell this clock realistically. It's just not worth it, and most likely nobody will want to buy it. However, with a gun like this one, now there's something I could probably do with it. Like high kappas are very popular, and Tokyo Marui ones especially so, and they're not very well supplied across the world really. So you often don't have them in stock. So they're a sought after item. So if you go with something like this, you might regain some of the money that you invested in it in the first place because of the good resale value. So, yeah, I mean, that's, I think that's pretty much covers all I wanted to say about these characteristics and these things that you should think about before you purchase your pistol for action air. Like I said, if you're just starting out and you're not sure, don't invest really, just go and borrow a gun, try it out, see what you like, see what you don't like, then go to a website, look for pistols that you like aesthetically, and then start thinking about all those other things and what you want to do over the period of next few months, a year or something. That is, of course, if you have a budget and you don't want to waste money. If you are super rich and don't really care, then just go buy whatever. You'll just buy another one if you feel like it. So now about some recommendations. What brands, like, yeah, what's the best gun, right? So if you think about all these things that I said, reliability, accuracy, consistency, spare parts availability, resale value, then Tokyo Marui, I'm not gonna like rediscover the wheel here, is probably your best bet. I mean, it's good out of the box. It's great if you want to upgrade it later. You will have tons of parts to choose from if you want to upgrade it both for performance and for visuals. It has different products for different like tastes. So you have your Glock, you have your Colt 1911, like the classic one. You have your double stack high kappa, the most popular pistol for action air probably that exists. So there are you got like the M&Ps. You have all these great options that are awesome out of the box, and you can then fine tune them to your liking really. And the budget and your imagination will probably be your only limiting factor. So I think that's like the number one recommendation I can make. If you're really serious about this and you have the money, you should probably get something from Tokyo Marui. I'm not saying specifically high kappa because, like I said, people are different. It's not like everybody likes these guns, but it's also something that will run great out of the box, and you'll probably not have much problem selling it down the line if you don't like it. The second choice that is quite popular is Armorworks and WE. That's the same brand pretty much. So these guns, their downside is that they're not fully TM spec. So some of the internals that you can get, the aftermarket parts, they will not all work in those pistols. However, though they have a lot of spare parts, their own proprietary spare parts that you can get in many online stores, not exactly from Hong Kong, which can be a bonus. And I found a lot of these parts in European stores, for example. So like I said, ordering from Hong Kong can be a hassle. This is something to consider because it might be easier to get replacements, and there is quite a lot of replacements possible. Plus they're pretty well made, but the quality overall is, I would say, below Tokyo Marui. So it's a trade-off. However, what you're getting there is they have quite a lot of different models, and they're kind of already pre-modded. So you can get like a mag well, you can get nice cuts on the slide. The slides are metal, quote unquote. So you're getting fiber optics already from the box. So these are like they are a nice package, but you have to be aware that down the line they will be more likely to break than, for example, a stock Tokyo Marui. Even with a plastic slide, even if you run it with green gas like I did, there's just something else. And yeah, I mean, I think that's all I wanted to cover. I hope you found this video interesting. And this is like a huge topic, so I probably have missed something. So tell me in the comments if there are some things that you would also want to add to this. Maybe someone in the future will benefit from this knowledge bomb, and will make their life easier when purchasing a new pistol. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.